Hello there. Well, as we continue our coverage of GAA Gold and Air Sport, I'm delighted to be in the company, albeit virtually, of some more GAA legends. This week, it's all about Kerry football, and in particular, that famous four-in-a-row side of late 70s, early 80s. And who better to look back on that period than Micko and Bomber Liston. Gents, thank you both very much for taking the time to chat. Owen, if I start with yourself, Kerry football in the 70s, the Dublin-Kerry rivalry was at its peak. All-Ireland champions in 75, Kerry lose to Dublin in 76, the Dubs go on to beat Armagh in 77. So in the lead up to this famous four-in-a-row run, how would you sum up the mood in Kerry at that time?
It was a huge match for both teams, I think, really. Having won each at the time, this was going to be, like Kerry took the 76 defeat fairly bad and didn't want that to be repeated, especially by their main rivals, Dublin. And I was brought into training that year. I had a full year's training. Couldn't get on the team, but I do remember how good and how hard Kerry trained for that match. The preparation really was savage. The training, everything was done, and they had a good game plan, I felt, and perfect day for a match, fabulous match, and could have gone either way, I felt, watching it. I was number 24 in the subs that day, and but it was just a great. Dublin got a goal, I think it was Bernard Brogan, and then the momentum changed and Kerry hadn't time to come back then. Dublin got on a run and finished really strong and just showed how good a team they were, like winning 74, caught in 75, 176, 177. You know, that's a good team, and they were an established team and they all knew their roles and well managed by Kevin Heffernan, and a superb team that played in 6 finals altogether in a row.
It certainly would be a motivating factor for Kerry, I'm sure. Mikey, I came across a John Egan interview actually after the 75 final, and he said a lot of people in Kerry wrote that team off even before a ball was thrown in. So then Kerry have the come down, losing to Dublin in 76 and going 2 years without an All-Ireland. Was there a feeling in Kerry that you had to regain the fans' trust, and was that used as a motivating factor in any way going into 78?
I'd say definitely. It's funny, really. You know, Bomber. I'm sure Bomber would even remember it. Is that in '77 when we were beaten in the semi-final by Dublin, a game that, as Bomber said, could have gone either way. There was a move within the county board to actually get rid of Mick O'Dwyer, and I think for our first league game after that, losing that semi-final, there was I think Pat Spillane was dropped. I think maybe Ger Power was dropped. I think Bomber probably played his first game. And you know, the mood was somber enough, you know, because and I suppose if you look at it, the two managers of the two teams, there were two brilliant footballers in their day, and it was like a head-to-head, a duel, vis-a-vis on the line. But most certainly that year in '78, we worked awful hard. But as Bomber would have said, we would have worked awful hard in '77 as well. And you know, I'm sure Bomber will tell you the story. In the '78 final, we started absolutely so badly. You know, I think we were 6 points to 1 down after 15 minutes. Bomber was waving to the side that he wanted to come off. His back was gone, and he ended up getting 3 goals and 2 points. You know, and a lot of people that they mentioned my goal, but I would always have said the turning point in that game in '78, which was crucial for us, was the first goal John Egan got, because Dublin were 6 points to 1 up. I was marking Robbie Kelleher, and despite the fact that people said in those days that cornerbacks didn't ramble, Robbie brought me, when he was defending the canal end, he brought me for a ramble up in Underhill 16. And I remember it clearly, he actually passed the ball to Bobby Doyle, who was blown for overcarrying, and I don't even think he did overcarry. Next thing, there was a quick free off the ground, out to the middle of the field, and Bomber caught it. And I think he gave it to Pat Spillane, gave it to John Egan, and brought us back at net. And that brought us completely back into the game. But at that stage, Dublin were totally on top. So it's amazing, fine margins, you know.
Yeah.
Mickey, you have some memory for something that happened 42 years ago.
I know I do, because
I'm impressed.
I want to pick you up with something else. You weren't paying too much attention on the sideline in '77. Because David he got the first goal.
Was it David?
But David got the crucial goal. Again, I can remember.
I was trying to get Miko's attention to bring me on.
You probably were. And it was very funny, again, fine margins or small margins was, I don't know which Dublin player kicked the ball in, and John O'Keefe actually, or Ogie, had it covered. And John dived, and he broke the ball away from Ogie. There was no communication, obviously. And it went straight to, I think it was maybe Tony Hanna, who gave it to David Hickey next to him, back in the net. Ball is kicked out. They win the ball. Bernard Brogan went through the end, remember, for a second goal. That was it.
Are you saying it was John's fault, Mikey?
Absolutely. I would never say that about the best fullback that ever played. No, definitely.
We'll have to bring John on. We'll have to get a right of reply for a lot of people here by the end of this chat, I'm sure. Let's talk about the goals then, because I know when you go to that 78 final, I know you're talking about other goals that may have been more crucial at the time, but Mikey, listen, let's call a spade a spade. It's one of the most iconic moments of Gaelic football, let alone Kerry football. And, you know, I was even kind of reading back on Con Houlihan's beautiful description of Paddy dashed back towards his goal like a woman who smells a cake burning. The ball won the race and it curled inside the near post as Paddy crashed into the outside of the net and lay against it like a fireman who would return to his station ablaze. Like that is peak Con Houlihan. But what are your memories of it? Was that something that pre-match going in, you had any inkling that Paddy Cullen would come off his line a lot, or was it a bit yappy to a referee, or was it just pure instinct?
No, look, I don't know. I think it was instinct. It certainly wasn't something that I planned. But to be fair to Paddy now, you know, I'm great friends with Paddy. We've often discussed it. But again, and I would say this clearly, there was an incident maybe 5 minutes before it, and Paddy and Joe Power had an incident out on the sideline, and Joe left an elbow, I'd say, and Paddy left a little bit of a clip in him, and the Kerry crowd kind of reacted to the ball went down the field, and I'd say the referee, in fairness to him, was saying there's something going on there, because really for the incident when it happened, there was no foul. Paddy picked the ball cleanly, put his toe under it, and next thing he's looking and he's saying, the whistle's gone, what's this for? And look, it was just completely instinct. It was a complete chance that I took. It was a ferocious chance to take. It was very funny. It happened, you know, and it happened close enough to half time. And inside the dressing room at half time, Micko, in fairness to him, you know, he'd never go over. He'd never, you know, he wouldn't want to be giving you a big head and say, geez, that was a great goal, that was a great thing. He never said a word to me, but I can remember him staring at me. And I was saying, what's wrong with him? And I just remember he was a free taker himself. And I know I was going through, he said, because I often said it to him later on. And he was saying, if you had missed it, I would absolutely have killed you, because we were coming back into the game. And he would have felt maybe Dublin might get the momentum. But, you know, he said, look, grand, he accepted, but he never said, look, well done, or whatever. It was very funny.
Yeah.
I remember that my recollection of that goal, I didn't know whether it was allowed or not. It was only when I went in at half time that I realised that we were a point up, 1 or 2 up. I thought we were still down. And I just couldn't believe what is after happening. There was, you know, first All Ireland, I was 9-20, you know, the pressure, everything, playing useless. And next thing, geez, how are we ahead? Well, I remember coming out in the second half that, Jesus, if we can play that bad and good and still be ahead, geez, we have a right chance in the second half, you know?
Yeah. And I remember your first goal bomb in the second half was again Jacko, and this is facts, and you might think, like, there's a pile of matches I don't remember a lot about, but Jacko was actually shooting for a point, and it looked like a perfect 40-yard pass into your mouth, you couldn't miss it. You know, remember it. But there's no doubt, no, Jacko wouldn't admit that, but I know for a fact that the way he was playing, he was aiming for a point. And
I was always lucky though.
Well, listen, it's not luck that you end up scoring a hat-trick in an All-Ireland final, 3 goals. Like, was anything said to you at half-time to motivate you, or were you motivating yourself? I know you kind of had a poor start to the game, but to come away with 3-2, I mean, on an All-Ireland final day, that's not a bad haul.
No, but I was just so excited going out in the second half to be ahead and knowing that we'd got out of jail. Because Dublin, when they were the 6-1 up, they were playing ducks and drakes with us, you know. We hadn't a clue what was going on. I hadn't anyway for a good 30 minutes, I'd say, you know. And next thing that Mikey's incident happened, and geez, we're ahead after playing that bad. God, there was confidence going out the second time. Jeannie, you know what, we're getting a right chance here to redeem. And then, as I said, that goal, Jesus, I remember the fact that I had a hand in the first goal. I felt I had contributed something. Even if I was taken off, I felt I had done something. and then just being in the right position when Jacko hit that precision pass. And it was a hard finish now, Mike, from what I remember. But,
very difficult.
but then, you know, the game, I think psychologically, you'll be talking about momentum and psychologically, geez, it was a huge lift to us coming out in the second half. And then when we got that goal, you know what, everyone's confidence was up, and there was only going to be one winner then.
Did the heads ever drop at any stage, Mikey, you know, at the start of that game at all? Was there any low point in that specifically?
No, I don't think the heads dropped, but as Owen said,
my head was fairly low, Mike.
Your back was gone by all accounts. But, you know, in fairness, I think that was, you know, no, I don't think so. I think, you know, you're always saying, look, there's plenty of time in the game. You're still hoping. But certainly no, you know, I would have said in the 77 semi-final, in the first half of the 77 semi-final, we played a lot better than we did in the 78 first half in the final. And Bomber's right, like, it was hard to believe. Dublin played all the football and we went in a point or two ahead, you know. So you'd be saying to yourself, if we up this any bit at all, like, you know, these guys are in trouble. And certainly Dublin, I think they went in a bit shell-shocked at half-time because they knew they had played all the football. They're saying, you know, they deserve to be 6 or 7 points ahead at half-time.
And then second half was a totally different ball game, because if you just look at the score line just as a score, 5-11 to 9 points, I mean, that's an absolute thrashing. And then to think that the game didn't necessarily play out like that. Owen, something I was watching back the match, and there was a lot of balls pumped into Paddy Cullen, and he dealt very, very well with them, high balls. Was that a tactic at all employed by Yee, that you were trying to target him with balls into the square?
We're trying to target Paddy Cullen?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Kerry, Micko hated any ball going into the goalie.
Yeah, I'd assume so. That I'm not trying to call Kerry a long ball team or anything here now.
No. A long ball was a lot of the strategy was to get the ball in fast to stop the extra numbers coming back into the square. So that was definitely part to get the ball in. I even remember the 77 semi-final and the dressing room at half time. I remember Pat Spillane had made 5 or 6 solo runs up, and Shawnee Welch was going well inside full forward, and the ball wasn't given into him. And I remember Micko going mad at half time, saying, why won't you let it in? You know? And that's why Pat was dropped after that for a while. You know? There's no doubt. But it was always a part of Micko's theory that, look, get the ball in as fast as possible to the forwards. And the forwards, we were told, just let's spread out. Don't be all gathering together like Brown's cows, as he would say. Just spread out, plenty movement, and get the ball in quick to them, you know?
What was that? What was that like for you, Mikey, playing under Micko? Just how good a manager was he?
Well, I think, you know, I mean, in fairness to Jim Gavin, has done fantastic, but I still rate Micko number one, eight All-Irelands in 10 years. And I mean, he was an idol of mine when I was growing up, you know, and then to come in under him, I have everything to be thankful to Micko for, you know, because Bomber knows, and he was a bit like myself, a bit lazy, you know, and, you know, he'd have to push you awful hard. But, you know, Micko, like, when you see backroom teams now, I was involved with Emil Fitzmaurice there for a few years myself. You see the size of the backroom teams. Micko had 4 selectors, and he did everything really, like, you know, and I'd say he had the main say in picking the team as well. But he was the physical trainer, he was the psychologist. At times he was the doctor, because, you know, when it came to training, and if he felt that you had an injury, unless it was really, really bad, he'd force you, he'd say, "You're go on, try it anyway, see how it is." But he was, you know, and he always had this knack. I'm only talking now from a personal point of view. You know, there were times during the season you wouldn't be going well, particularly during the league. You know, that's where the laziness maybe came in, and he'd say to me, "Jesus, get out to bed and go for a few runs, you know, you're carrying a bit of weight," you know, and then all of a sudden you'd start turning around and your form would improve in training, and he'd come over, he'd make sure he'd wait for you, you know, as you're coming off the pitch after training, he'd say, "God, you know, you're after improving, you might be only after improving 5%, but just the fact that he'd say that to you, you get another 100% or 200% the following night in training." You know, he was just an amazing man.
But you know, he was like as well. I was down in Waterville at that time. I was working in Waterville with him, and as I said, I know him well, and I was actually only talking to him last night. But he hated to lose. He would do anything to win. This I happened to watch this Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, like, you know, he was just like that. And even with me below, I was treated like a son by him. But Jesus, when I played bad, he'd shun me, like, you know. You'd know when you're not going well.
Yeah.
And you know when you're overweight. And you'd know he'd a way of giving you the message. And when you were playing well, then, God, you were, you know, and he was that competitive. He hated to lose anything, whether it was pitch and toss, handball, volleyball. I played all the sports against him. Golf, he'd stamp on your ball if you weren't looking there to get ahead of you, you know. He was that competitor, like anything. Hated to lose.
Yeah.
And obviously Kevin Heffernan must have been the same, I'd say. You know, it was definitely two bulls coming at each other, like, you know.
Did he have a bit of a temper? Would he go through you in a dressing room?
No, he very said.
No. In fairness to him, like, you know, he'd call a fella out individually, okay, but he'd never ball a fella in front of the whole team.
No.
Which again, to me, was great credit. Like I started in '74. Now he was playing. Micko was just finished. He was just retiring. But I mean, from '75 to '86 to '87, most of the finals, I played under him. And my God, you know, sometimes people would say that you'll get stale, you know, listening to the same voice. I could listen to him all for 40 years. I would truth with you, know, he had that talent. I don't know what it was. And as Bomber will rightly know, even though Bomber was a little bit of a pet now because when he was living in Water, so he got away with it.
I suffered by that.
We weren't Republic, but there was Bomber. But no, it didn't matter. Everybody was afraid of him. And when afraid is the wrong word to use. We had so much respect for him, we would have done anything for the man.
But let me clarify the pet there. Micko came to me and took me under his wing that he was going to make an athlete out of me. And as I said, he was a nutritionist as well there, Mikey. He was taking the nappies off me in the last class. But he had that thing. I forget now where I was going to say about it.
He had that presence.
It wasn't just a presence. No, I've lost my train of thought there. What I was going to say about it.
It was too inspirational.
Oh yeah, I was going to say about being the pet. I was down there Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and we'd be coming up to training Tuesday and Thursday, like. But the other nights, he was calling for me to go up for extra training. So I said, "Hold on, now, Mick. Be fair." I said, "If you take it easier on me when I go up to Killarney, I'll go training the other nights down here." And we did a deal. And that's why the lads thought I was getting away with it, I'd say. But I was doing another 2 or 3 sessions below while I was there. So that's my excuse anyway.
That's your story, Bob, anyway. Yeah.
It's my story.
Well, the record has been set there anyway. If we move on to 1979 then, in terms of preparation in the lead up to the All-Ireland final itself, Mikey, was there any differences between 78 and 79 in how you prepared as a team, as a unit?
No, I'd say, you know, we prepared as diligently as ever, you know, but I do think that the 78 win, it gave us ferocious confidence, and we did play well in 78. I think Ger Power was injured before we played, and Tommy Dye played outside me, he played number 10. And, you know, he just slotted into that position so easily, you know, and the preparation went very well. And to be fair to Dublin, I think Jimmy Keaveney missed that All-Ireland final through suspension, you know, and he was a massive loss to Dublin at that particular stage, you know, for leadership. And they had a couple, Dublin were in a small little bit of transition, as we'd call it, a little bit, you know, they had a couple of new players in. And, no, we were doing very confident, but we trained ferociously hard, the same as we did in 77 and 78. And, you know, again, it's like I mentioned, the thing, momentum. We got it early in the game that day, and, you know, we kind of, you know, didn't take the leg off the pedal, and won kind of, I'd say, you know, winning All-Ireland easy, but we were comfortable winners in the finish, you know.
Well, speaking of momentum, Mikey, you know, you certainly set the tone, a thunderbolt that found the net within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was. Well, in fairness, the big man had a huge role to play in that, and himself and Ogie, of course, being like brothers, you know, the chemistry between the two boys was unreal. And I think it was a free kick by Paddy O'Shea, and long ball. I just took a chance, and Ogie, Bomber broke it to Ogie, but I was just running alongside Ogie, and Ogie flicked it to me, and it was an easy finish because I was on the run, and Ogie could have actually gone himself, but Ogie was very funny because he wouldn't be, not only he's a beautiful kicker, but he says to me, I remember meeting him during the week, was in the store race, or we were after a few jars, he says to me, I was never as glad to see a fellow alongside me in Croke Park. He just passed it, but he could have got it himself, and Bomber will tell you that, you
It was a good finish, Mikey.
It was all right, but it was Joe Break. In fairness, like the break the ball, and I remember I was marking David Foran. He was a good tight defender, but he got caught. He just got caught ball watching, and like we were talking earlier on about luck and momentum, and some days it goes for you, and other days then it doesn't go with you.
Well, I must say, you're both very humble in the efforts that you're putting into these All-Ireland finals. But, Owen, again, you had a big part to play in the penalty. I suppose you had the assist for the penalty with the flick on as well.
I'm 79.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I can't remember one thing, very little about that match, except that I was marking GAA O'Driscoll at the start, and then I was marking Mick Holden for a good bit of it. Yeah. After that, Lord mercy him. I can't remember the penalty. Mikey, who was fouled?
I don't know. I think it was Tommy Doyle was fouled. I think you got a flick to a ball, right? That came in.
Yeah, it was flicked on, and then Mikey yourself put it away. Yeah. Gents, talk to me about that chemistry, Mikey. I know you alluded to it there. Did that just come naturally in training, Bomber, or like what was it like? You're playing alongside great, iconic players, legends of the game. But at the time, did it just come naturally?
Well, the look was that we were kind of kept together. John Egan, myself, and Mikey, and then you had Spillane and Ogie and Joe Power. So we were there for the league, for challenge matches, for matches. And you know what? Every match, as we were going on, you learn things. I remember Joe Power coming to me there once, said, look, when I'm coming through from the wing there at top pace, always come to me, because I might use you or I mightn't use you. But you have that learned. That's part of your armory for the next match. The other thing is, from training, when Mikey, it might be just a cough or something. You know exactly what he wants you to do in a thing. And it all comes from teamwork that builds over many, many, many matches if the coach keeps the same team together. So
well, you certainly kept a really, really good team together. Did it mean a bit more to you, Mikey, that it was against Dublin? I saw a quote from Hefo again, kind of just looking back, that an All-Ireland victory against Kerry was like a double All-Ireland. So given the fact that 78 and 79 was against Dublin, did it mean that bit more?
I think it did. I'm sure that you alluded to there to be the same if it was vice roles were reversed. Yeah. Like Dublin were very dominant in the 70s, and like they are now. And you obviously always want to beat the best. You don't mind who you beat in an All-Ireland final, but obviously Dublin, because I've always said it myself that any All-Ireland final that I played against Dublin, the atmosphere was the best by far. There was nothing to touch it. When you saw the hill full, you can see it nowadays. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. Even the two All-Ireland finals this year now, the drawing game and the replay, the atmosphere. But the majority of it comes from the hill. And, I suppose it's the city slicker against the culture boys, and this has gone on for years and years and centuries ago, and long may it continue. But it's always an extra special feeling when you're down the Dubs.
Yeah. And for yourself, Bomber, did it have a bit of extra spice for yourself?
No, I just know that my first All-Ireland in 78, God, then every fella grown up in Kerry just wants to win an All-Ireland. And that's what was at stake. It didn't matter who it was, but geez, the pressure was way worse when it was Dublin, because it was the full house and the chants and it was just atmosphere that you'd have to be out there in the Coliseum to witness it,
Yeah.
And it just was that was my first experience of it, and it was just fantastic, and to get the win then, and to get your first All-Ireland medal, to win that first one is just everything, a dream come true. After that, in 79, 80, 81, do you know what? It's the All-Ireland, winning the All-Ireland final, and knowing that the Kerry supporters want it so much, and your family wants it so much, and you wanted to play well as well, and that's where it kind of comes from after that. But definitely, playing Dublin, the fact that there is great rivalry and great sporting and great banter, there's so many of the Dubs that time, they'd all come to Kerry on their holidays. And the slag was always there, and that added to it. We also had that with Cork, because Cork used always come down on their holidays too. And, you know, you'd have the same slag, but there was more at stake with the Cork match, because if you lost it, you were out. Your whole year was over. Whereas at least getting to a final, you've had the enjoyment of being with your mates all through the summer. Your body is after getting into good shape. You're on top of the world. You're fit, and you know it'll either happen or it won't happen, or you'll try to make it happen on the final day. And if it was Dublin, definitely there is something extra in it. I'd say the same as Jimmy Keatley said. It's worth two. We'll say it's worth two All Ireland. So
yeah,
Mikey,
certainly.
you have an extra few so there, Mikey.
Well, listen, we're halfway there to the 4 in a row. 2 big All-Ireland victories over Dublin in 78 and 79. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for now. But fear not, myself, Mikey, and the Bomber will be back very soon as we continue our look back on Kerry's famous 4 in a row as we study in detail the All-Ireland finals from the 1980 and 1981. Until then, stay safe. Bye for now.
Cheers, man.